Trade rumors have been increasing over Utah Jazz starting center Walker Kessler, as it seemed that the New York Knicks were trying to trade for him before Karl-Anthony Towns. And with how Ousmane Dieng has been playing, Sam Presti might be inclined to hit up Utah, hit up Daigneault Ainge and be like, look, we know you're trying to get rid of him. It's in the papers. Everyone knows about it. We're trying to get rid of this guy. We know you want a pick or two. We can make this deal work. And the Oklahoma City Thunder might be able to have a backup center and start Isaiah Hartenstein if that's the case. And this could be perfect for him. It could be the perfect fit, or it could be the worst fit, but that's what we're here to try to figure out today and talk about. Is it realistic the Oklahoma City Thunder can go get him, or is it just too early in the season? It might just be too early to kind of make that judgment and call, be like, look, we got to trade for this guy right now. We don't know how this team's going to work. It might be something where we revisit in like December, like, okay, we clearly know what we need now if we want to be the true title favorites, and Walker Kessler might be the guy. He might be someone we come back to. That's what we're here to figure out, though, on Thunder Digest. Before you get into all this, though, quick moment to recognize if you guys find yourself coming back on a regular basis, you enjoy the content we put out here, or if you're new and you're liking what we're doing here, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support the channel. With that out of the way, we can go ahead and get into talking about Walker Kessler, how the Oklahoma City Thunder can get him, and realistically, what really sparked this whole trading Walker Kessler debate and kind of rumor going on around in the NBA right now. And to put it simple, it was the Oklahoma City Thunder that started this all. If you remember, the Oklahoma City Thunder were one of the favorites to land Lauri Markkanen in the offseason for a trade. Ultimately did not happen after we signed Isaiah Hartenstein. But when we signed Hartenstein, it still set off this kind of, avalanche of moves happening. All right, it set off this avalanche. Okay, the Knicks couldn't keep Hartenstein. Now they knew they needed another center. They might have had the news about Mitchell Robinson being out for the season, so they went ahead and got Cat. But it seemed as though they're going after the Utah Jazz, who are one of those teams where they could be the 10 seed play-in, or they could just be one of the worst teams in the league. But they have to make that decision now. Are they going to try to get in the play-in, or are they just going to aim for the lottery and aim for Cooper Flag this year? That's what they need to figure out. And it seems as though if they were trying to trade Kessler at first to the New York Knicks, then it might seem like they're selling. And you might be wondering, where'd you get this? All right, right here, boom, article that I found by Sam Amico right here talking about it. The Jazz are seeking 2 first-round draft picks in order to trade center Walker Kessler, per NBA insider Mark Stein of the Stein Line. While several opposing teams have expressed an interest in Kessler, the Jazz are in no way feeling desperate to move him, sources told Hoops Wire/Amico Hoops. Stein reported that the Knicks were among the teams that spoke to Utah about Kessler. That likely was before New York landed Karl-Anthony Towns in a trade with the Timberwolves. It is believed that Utah wanted at least 2 future first-round picks for Kessler after the Knicks had exhausted much of their remaining cash of draft picks in a trade with Brooklyn for Bridges. So as you can see there, they want picks, and New York just didn't have any right there. You know who has draft picks, though? The Oklahoma City Thunder. And we're not going to use a lot of these draft picks, so we might as well get rid of them and get players in return. We have an open roster spot. We might, at this rate, just leave it open and in a trade in the future, just trade for someone, trade picks, and get someone in return to take over that last roster spot. That might be the plan. We might end up keeping Ousmane Dieng all along. I know I said at the beginning that with how he's been playing, we could see him ended up getting traded to the Jazz for Walker Kessler. But if they just want picks in return, we can pull that off. I know we can. Sure, Daigneault Ainge might try to get 2 first-rounders and 2 second-rounders out of us, but with how many we have, we can overpay for a guy like that. Now, getting more into this article here, talking about Walker Kessler and the potential trade for him. New York's desire to acquire a frontline center only grew as the offseason. Now, this is where it goes in, where I was talking about how the Oklahoma City Thunder were the team that caused all of this. New York's desire, blah, 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 wore on after Isaiah Hartenstein left for Oklahoma City in free agency, and with Mitchell Robinson recovering slower than expected from ankle surgery. And this was written before everyone knew the news. He was going to be out for the season. I'm sure when the Knicks made the trade for Cat, they were anticipating that he'd be out for the whole season. The Knicks have provided no firm timetable on Robinson's recovery, blah, 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 but it's presumed that he's likely sidelined at least December. Now, we know it's for sure the whole season. As for the Jazz, it will be interesting to see how this season unfolds and what moves will end up being made by CEO Daigneault Ainge, who likes to not only make trades, but keep the trade talk around his team buzzing. Ainge's strength is always keeping his options open and acquiring assets. His weakness is sometimes treating his teams like they're in a rotisserie league. Either way, 2 first-rounders for Kessler would be too much. We will see if Utah intends to try to get to the play-in tournament or go into tank mode. When it comes to that, the Jazz may be the biggest mystery in the NBA. So it truly just goes based off of if Kessler is getting traded, how the Jazz are doing. If they're playing well, if they're like a 9 or 10 seed, maybe even 7, if they're in that playoff mix, even at 11, come December, January, they're probably going to keep Kessler and try to compete for the play-in. But if they're way out of it and they know we're going to tank, they might be looking to give up Kessler, who's going into his 3rd season at the moment. It'd be interesting to see how all it plays out. Now, the question is, does Walker Kessler really fit in on this team? What does he bring? Well, when you look at the stats, stats don't tell the whole story. I know that. All right? Stats don't always tell the whole story. His, though, they do a little bit with this guy. He's not the best 3-point shooter, which is to be expected from someone like him who's 7 foot tall when he's a center and more of a traditional guy, but he can't, he will take the 3 ball if necessary. He's just not very efficient at it. 8 points a game, 7.5 boards, assists a game. We're not going to worry about the assist number right there. 2.5 blocks a game, though. That's what really stands out. We're really building this team off of our defensive presence. That alone makes him fit in with this squad. That alone of the 2.5 blocks a game almost incites the Oklahoma City Thunder to go after and get Kessler. Why not, for that matter? 1 turnover a game, which is nice to see from your center. 2 fouls a game. And then 65% from the field. That's great efficiency right there. We could run a bunch of pick and rolls with him. He's a big body. Defensive box plus minus is 1.3, so he's a plus defensive player. And he's 23 years old. He's still young. And it's not like if we want to re-sign him, extend him along with Chet and Dub, it's not like he's going to cost a lot of money. He's not going to be a max player. All right? His extension, realistically, is not going to be that high. It really won't. The only question surrounding him is how does he fit in with the offense? And that's what I've been looking at with Hartenstein, because it's kind of similar. I don't want to say it's similar. It's not the exact same, but you can kind of get a feel for Kessler and how he would fit in this style of offense with how Hartenstein's been doing lately. Bunch of dribble handoffs, bunch of pick and rolls. That would probably be the same thing Kessler would do coming off the bench for the Oklahoma City Thunder, because I still believe Hartenstein should start, and then that requires us having a backup center right there, especially if Chet or Hart get injured during the season. And Kessler could be that perfect guy. He could. Now, like I mentioned, it's way too early. But with these stats that I have pulled up right here right now, it could be the perfect mix and addition to this squad. It really could. And with all the centers out there, there's not really one that is a true 5-out style of center in this league that we realistically could get. All of them are pretty much untouchable. The Anthony Davises, the Nikola Jokic's, Victor Wembanyama's, those guys, they're pretty much untouchable. So we got to get someone that's not untouchable that we can easily plug in the system if we want. Extend them in the future because they're going to be cheap. A guy like that, he's going to be cheap. That's why I like Jonas Valanciunas so much. We already know what his contract looks like. He's making $10 million a year. That is cheap for someone of his caliber. That's what I'm looking at right there. Future, are they going to be there with us for long term? And is it worth giving up all those picks? I think for Kessler, it would. No doubt about it in my mind. I think it'd be worth giving up all those picks because I don't think his contract is all that much anyways for the next 2 years. Could be a good fit. Like I mentioned, especially if Ihart or Chet go down with an injury at some point in the season, be nice to add. Plus, J. Will could go to a position that he'd probably be better at the power forward, at the 4 spot. It just helps out the team in so many ways. Not to mention, the best part about him is his defensive presence. It's 2.5 blocks a game, big body, uses his size well. Building this team off of defense, not going to let you score more than 90 points a game because we know our offense can put up at least 100. That's what we need right there. That's what we need. Try to create the best defense of all time. And Walker Kessler, he might be the guy to help us out there. But like I mentioned, it's super early. We're not even the regular season yet. We're 2 preseason games in. No telling what this team is going to look like come December. We might not even need to trade for anyone. You never know. And Utah Jazz, at that point, they may no longer have Kessler or be willing to trade him. It's just going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But I'm also interested in what you guys personally think. Do you think we should go get Kessler at some point during the season? Or are you also thinking like, Bryson, it's way too early. Why are we talking about this? Let me know down in the comment section below. I'll see you guys in the next video.